Hi guys, welcome to my video and my YouTube channel. Today we're going to talk about what is probably the biggest milestone yet, which is the new procedural generated dungeon. So let's not waste any time and get into it. So grab a cup of coffee and some popcorn and let's begin. So yeah, the procedural generated dungeon. Where do I even begin talking about this? This has kind of been the plan from the beginning. I just have absolutely no idea where to even start on this. I knew that I was not going to sit down and create all these big levels and make every room unique. There's no way I'm going to do that. So I would rather have the game itself put down the levels for me, which is also the reason why I haven't really built any big levels yet, because I knew I wanted the levels to be procedural generated, so I wasn't going to waste my time doing that and then scratch everything once I got a system working. So I found a little tutorial which showed a super easy, simple way how to make a endless runner system. And I used it with my rooms, so every time you reach the exit of a room, a new random room would spawn. And this is what these small balls are for. When I reach the ball, a new room will spawn. And that was super awesome, and I was just running through this simple level I don't know how many times, seeing these new random rooms spawning in front of me, even though I only had 3 rooms, but I mean I was super excited, and I could get this to work. I could basically just build some big rooms which had kind of a labyrinth layout, so you had to jump up and down and elevators and everything. As long as the exit was straight ahead and was lining up with the next exit, then it would work. So you were still only going from left to right, so I wanted more than that. Fortunately, I have a really good friend who is helping me out now and then when I'm running into problems which I have no idea what to do about, and I can't find anything on it on the internet. So he helped me build the base of this system, and it turned out really awesome, to be honest. It still has a lot of things that doesn't really work and I want to improve upon, but for now it does what it's supposed to do, and it creates a new level layout every time, which is freaking awesome. So I ended up with a system where the rooms were looking for exits. So I made all these rooms which has different exits, up, down, left, right. Some rooms have 1 exit, some rooms have 3 exits. If I put 4 exits in, like a cross, then yeah, it will become a huge labyrinth. Anyways, so you have a starting room. Let's say the starting room have an exit to the right. Then the right exit will be looking for rooms that has left exits, and then they can connect. And if the next room has, let's say, 2 exits, right and up, those 2 exits will look for rooms which has the opposite exit, so they match up. So those 2 new rooms will also have exits which are looking for new exits. All right. And every time a new room is added, I will add 1 to the room amount, and then I can set the room amount to, for example, 10. So when those 10 rooms has been added, then the dungeon is kind of complete, but it will leave a lot of open exits in the level which I somehow need to close. This is done by I just take all the remaining open exits and then just add a closed room to that exit, so there won't be any new open exits. And if for some reason that new room is colliding with with some of the other rooms, I will just replace that new room with a smaller room. And if that also collides with another room, then I'll just add kind of a block just to close the exit. That's kind of how it works right now. I mean, it's a bit difficult to explain, and looking at the code, it really has me scratching my head sometimes, not knowing what's going on here. I mean, that's the disadvantage of having someone help you out with a complex system, which you don't understand. So, you know, when he's gone, then you're left back alone with something you don't really fully understand. So it's extremely hard to change it, because I simply don't understand the math and what's going on here. So for now, I just have to work with what I have. And as you can see, I started testing out with these very simple rooms that almost have no details in them. I mean, it's just so it's easier for me to iterate on. I can always improve these rooms and make them super awesome, but for testing we need something simple, so it's easy to find all the problems. I mean, does it even make any sense what I'm talking about here? You know, int rooms and exit, right exits, and I mean, I'm sounding like a maniac when I'm listening to myself. I mean, the most important thing is that I got this super awesome system, and I was running around these very simple rooms over and over, trying out a new dungeon all the time, and I'm kind of blown away how awesome this works. And I mean, I've been playing the same little level for the last, I don't know, 2 years maybe. So seeing the game put together a level for me, so I have no idea what's coming, is just insanely awesome to me. So this was completely Christmas all over again. I had a game that were giving me levels by itself. I mean, how nuts is that? And I mean, the madness just continued, because then I started to put some details into these rooms, and it just transformed into this awesome looking dungeon. Of course, I haven't made all the rooms yet, but again, I just took the simple rooms, put some nicer graphics on them, and it just became a dungeon. And I haven't even tried to create more complex rooms than this. This is still just the super basics. One thing that is really cool about this new procedural dungeon is that every time it loads up, you have no idea where the exit key is or where the exit door is, which will make you search the dungeon and really explore to find these two items to move on to the next. And it just feels good to be running past the exit door without the exit key, and you need to, I need to find the exit key, where is it? And then you go and explore the dungeon, and then when you find it, you go back to the door and you get out. That just feels really good, and it takes the exploration in this game to a whole new level. But of course, there is a problem with this procedural generated dungeon, and I think it's the same problem that all game developers are struggling with who are making these procedural generated levels, because it all looks great as long as you make generic looking rooms. As soon as you start making some specific rooms that kind of stick out, like I've made a room with a super long bridge, and I have also made a room with these lava pools, but as soon as I put those into the game, they would just stick out in my face as soon as I saw that room. And if there were two of the same rooms spawning in the same dungeon, it was kind of just, oh shit. So it feels like this only works if you have very generic looking rooms that all fit together. So you can't really tell one room from the other, but I mean, it would still have the same dungeon theme put down on it. But yeah, as soon as you create something specific that is a little different than all the other rooms, then it just sticks out. And I think that is why many of these random generated games have a tendency to look very dull in some way. And that is why games with handcrafted levels like Metroid or Castlevania work so well, because you can have your super awesome looking clock tower or library room, but in a procedural generated world, if that clock tower shows up again later on, it's just super weird. So I need to get my head around what to do about this situation, because I want to create fantastic looking rooms, but I don't want every room to be a fantastic looking room. And then all of a sudden I need rules for where these specific good looking rooms can show up. So if I have this long bridge room, then I have to set up a rule that this room is a special room and it can only spawn once in a dungeon or something like that. And then it starts to become very complicated. But yeah, all the gameplay you've seen so far in this video are using the new procedural generated dungeon system, which is absolutely fantastic. Jesus man, I didn't realize I've been talking for 10 minutes about the procedural dungeon. That might be a bit much, so I mean, if you're still with me at this point, I will consider you a hardcore subscriber, so congratulations on that. And let's move on. I have done some more work on the rat enemies. I have given them a new special attack. I basically just wanted to test out what it would feel like if the enemy attacks had a bigger anticipation, so that you can see the attack coming from further away, so you had a chance to roll away before it hits you. And at the same time I wanted to give them some more flashy moves they could use, so the combat would just look a lot more interesting. So it's not just the player character who can do all the fancy stuff. I want the enemies to be able to do things like that too. On top of that, the enemies can also now throw their weapons at the player, which also makes the combat more interesting, as before you could easily evade the enemy attacks, but now as soon as there are two rat enemies against you and one of them are throwing their weapons, it just gives another thing you need to avoid while you're in combat. So you're not just safe whenever you have a certain distance from the enemy, so now they can actually, throw things at you, which just makes it a lot more fun. Unfortunately, the rats are not throwing their actual weapons. It's basically just a projectile which is getting spawned, which has their weapon mesh in it, so it looks like they are throwing their weapons. And at the same time I'm just hiding their equipped weapon, so it looks like he's tossing his weapon against you. It would be awesome if I could make them throw the actual weapon blueprint against you. So if a rat, like the gold rat, is doing more damage with his weapon and it's made out of gold, that would be the actual weapon that would be tossed against you. But for now it's just a generic projectile with a weapon mesh, so it looks like it's the correct weapon, which means that the Rat King and the Gold Rats cannot throw their weapons. And then we have many small things I don't want to talk too much about in detail, because it's not that interesting yet. Things like the new map prototype. When you press a button, the camera just moves to a different position further away, making it look like a map. Then I've made some dynamic spike traps, which pops up when anything gets near it and damages whatever they hit. It doesn't really work as I wanted to, but it will in the future. And then I've been playing around with this new car game idea. I wanted to, sometimes I need to get away from this game and try and do something completely different. which in this case is physics. I wanted to learn more about physics, so I started creating this car game, which I will also not get into now. But what I do want to get into is the new finish moves, or fatalities, or whatever you want to call them. Well, right now I have only one finish move, but that doesn't really matter. It's awesome to me, and I will make more down the line, but for now this one will work just fine. I have been wanting this feature from the very beginning. I just have no idea how to line up two characters at the same time and making them play the correct animations at the same time, so they're kind of synced up, so I can make a synced animation, and that's super huge for me. And I know how to do that now. I just need a system for it, so I can implement more finish moves. I want blood on the floor and on the walls. I want to be able to chop off enemies' heads. Every kill in this game should be brutal and very satisfying. You should feel like a badass whenever you kill these enemies. And these fatalities will help me achieve exactly that. And at the same time, it will allow me to create some really good looking animations that will hopefully help make this game stand out from the crowd. So yeah, this is all I have for you now. So thank you very much for watching, and see you next time.